Hey, welcome back to Wook Plus. I'm Weekend Wook, joined by Gray Wen and T.
Feels good to be back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man, welcome back.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
again. I'm
how are you
super stoked to
doing?
have you back.
It's
How are
nice to
you?
be back. I was missing something the last couple weeks. Busy, but it was missing something.
How was
Can I ask a
Hawaii?
can I ask a personal question?
Oh
Of course,
shit,
Kev.
already?
Um, did she take your name?
She did take my name. We are Mr. and Mrs. Strong. It's very cool.
Nice.
Nice. Yes.
It was cool hearing them say that for the first time. And actually, what she did was when you go to change your name, it's kind of fun because you can change it to like whatever you want as long as like you can change your middle name. It's a little confusing, but what she ended up doing was she put her last name as part of her middle name now. So it's
The
Alex
hyphens in the
Christine.
She's
middle.
hyphenated.
Well, it's not hyphenated. It's just like
Oh,
Christine Ruffing
she
is the
dropped
middle
one and
name.
moved one back.
And
Backward
then,
down the number
right.
line, so to speak.
But I never realized how really confusing, and how hard it is for women to like credit cards and emails and like your
Social
work
Security
shit.
and all
I
that
would
shit.
never make
Yeah.
my ex-wife wanted to do it, and I was like, why are you going to do that? Because we got a
Yeah,
50-50 shot, which meant we were getting divorced probably before we were getting
I
married.
mean,
But
I'm totally stoked she wanted to do it and did it, and it's awesome. But even when we were in Maui, like she booked a lot of the reservations under her name. So under the room, it was like Ruffing. So they just kept calling me like Mr. Ruffing, and I was like, no, actually, it's like, but they're like, fuck
you
it,
were
we'll
like,
just
cool, whatever, another pina colada.
right, exactly. We just put it on the Underhills tab, but it was weird, like having it like that way. But it was cool. It was like, and hearing it for the first time, like I said, when the guy says it at the end of the ceremony, and they're like, "Mr. and Mrs. Strong." What's cool is really quick. I'll tell one quick story. I think I told you guys this already, but we walked out of the like after we were married, walking out of the church. They play a song, and we walked out to Telio, like the first version of it that they ever did. Kev, you sent me that, which was awesome. It was so loud and crisp in there. And you go out and immediately go around the side of the church and take a picture with the minister right after the ceremony, and then you can go back in and start mingling and taking the pictures. But anyway, we went around the side, and the minister's like, whose song is this? And I was like, oh, it's mine. Like, it's They Love Each Other from the Dead. Like, I'm a huge fan and this and that. He's like, yeah. He's like, did you not see my email address when we were emailing? I was like, no. He's like, well, it's JGB 1995 or something. And I was like, really? He's like, oh yeah. He's like, I've seen over 400 shows like between 72 and 95. And I was like, what? And like, my minister was a total head. He's like, I love this. He's like, I want to go back in and listen to this song. Let's get these pictures over.
So
It
we
was
got
amazing.
Father
That's
Chris
awesome.
and we got this
The
guy now.
serendipity of it and like the whole thing was really cool. And I think I told you guys because like we put Telio engraved inside of our ring. So it's like on our rings and like this whole thing. So it was like really cool. But then to find out he was in it, we are like, this is even cooler. Like, wow. So it was
So,
fun.
Yeah.
so is the picture you take with the minister like a proof of life thing?
Exactly.
You can't come back later and say I was forced into this.
It's like what the church does. It's like their routine, and they're like, once you're done with that, then you're pretty much then you can go take some pictures
You're
with
good.
everybody else.
Just file that paperwork and send the check.
That's it. We're good. But and the other thing was like, we did like a big weekend, which I was hoping you guys would make it out for, but I know you couldn't. But like we did like Disneyland one day, we did bonfire one day. We had kind of a big group thing one day, and then the wedding on Monday. And for 4 out of those 5 days, we didn't get rain. One day we got rain on our off day, which was amazing. And then the day after, like that night after the reception was over and everyone was leaving, it started pouring, and then it rained for like the next 2 days or whatever. But the weather out has been so crazy. We got so lucky. So like that turned out good, and like everything was awesome. Like I just wish you guys could have been out here for it because it was
I
a lot
know.
of fun.
Yeah, I
but-
feel like such a fucking
It-
asshole for not
It's
being
gonna
there.
be one of my biggest
I'm
regrets.
throwing that on the rest of my Catholic guilt in honor of Easter coming up next weekend. It's
Well, you both had shit you had to take care of, which is fine. I understand.
Kev was literally telling me in the green room before you came in how he's had one of those days where it's just full of guilt. And then he comes in, he's like, let me slather on a little bit more.
It is Easter, right? Like it's the time for
It's the
forgiveness,
season of
right?
guilt. All right, let's
Guilt and
all
forgiveness.
right. Yeah,
let's get to our guests because we have one of those guests that tells some awesome, fantastic fucking stories, and I love to talk to. And I never feel like we have enough time. So if we waste the little time we have, it's gonna feel even shorter. I don't think I need to give any other introduction at this point because everybody knows and loves them. But let's welcome
filling in the
Benjy.
kids.
Hey,
Benjy Eisen.
Benjy.
How's it going?
Good man.
It's
You
good
got
to be back.
all.
Good to see you guys. It's been a while.
It's been a hot minute.
been.
Wow.
When was the last time we? I don't know.
I love
I
your
don't know.
artwork.
You
Love
know,
your artwork. What is up with that?
Is what?
The artwork. What is up with that?
Oh, I'm in a hotel.
Wow, it's fantastic. I love.
I'm in a
that.
hotel, and as a matter of fact, this I think. I mean, we just established that I have no memory, but I think that this is the first time that I am on with you guys in your time zone because I'm on the East Coast, and so usually it's like 6 o'clock my time, sometimes even earlier, and like I'm always like like afterwards I have stuff to do. Tonight I'm drinking apple juice called Jameson, and
I'm having apple juice
ready to go.
myself.
Nice. I'm ready to go.
We have the whole spectrum. Kev's already fully lit. I'm sober. Benji's in the middle. It's like we're a spectrum of sobriety.
I'm California sober on the East Coast. Actually,
Right.
California sober is not. No, I'm not even.
Yeah, no,
California
you are
sober.
not California
No,
sober
shit.
at all.
I'm fall
You're New York
97 Fish
sober,
Tour
maybe.
sober. Fall-
Well, now
You're
you can
probably East
appreciate how
Tennessee
late
sober.
this is. This is
Yeah.
it's a little late for us East Coasters.
yeah.
You
No,
know.
it isn't. Come on.
Now
Well,
I get
you're a
it. Now
nocturnal
you say
man,
six. I'm
lightweight.
like, really? I have to be really
So Benji, tell us.
Could be
'cause
one of those
this is the
nights.
thing I want to know about, and fuck everybody else. What's up with Billy and the kids in New Orleans? What is going
Well,
on with that?
Billy has New Orleans roots, and so does his wife, and so they love going to Jazz Fest. I was with them at Jazz Fest in 2015 when we were there for the entire time for both weekends. We did I want to say we did 3 shows. It was a band called Voodoo Dead, which has existed now, but
Papa
this was
Molly?
yeah, the lineup has changed a lot, but the original, it was never supposed to be a touring band, and then I think Kimmock kind of took the name and ran with it and added other players, which which is fine. It was my name and I didn't copyright it, but I don't care. It's not like it was Jen Kimmock, Steve's wife, and I were workshopping names for this 3-night run. There was all stars. I think that Kimmock's got the hold on the venue, and then Billy said that he'll do it, and we had Dave Schools on bass, and we had a lot of guests. We had my friend Al, who plays in Mo, and I
Your
think we
friend
had,
Al.
yeah,
That guy I know.
it's I mean you can call him Al. Everyone has a friend named Al. And then I'm trying to think of who else. Clementi was in there. There were other special guests, Keller Williams, but in any case, we needed a name for it. So we were throwing around names, and it was Dead. It was something to do with New Orleans, so it was Dead Voodoo, and then we came upon Voodoo Dead. So we were down there for that entire time, and I think 14 days in New Orleans is a little bit too much. It was right before the book deal came out. It was right before Fairly Well, so I was in the hotel room at night working on my laptop until I would get back at 4 a.m. Billy at one point insisted. It was like my one day off, and Billy insisted that we go see. I was trying to hide it from him, but he saw in the listings that this was a time where he was absolutely enamored with Adam Deitch. He still likes Deitch as a player, but it was one of those like fascinations where he was just in the honeymoon period where he's absolutely loved Deitch, and O'Teal was playing, and this was before before O'Teal was in Dead and Company. This was 2015, so that band didn't exist yet. And I'm trying. Those were the only players I remember, but it started at 2 a.m. It was one of those shows down at like either DBA or Blue Nile, one of those.
Right. So well, who's playing now? Who's in this band that we get to see this week? That's what I want to know.
Hold on, Kev.
All right,
so it was my one day off, and at 2 a.m. At 2 a.m. I'm thinking I'm off the hook. Billy is definitely asleep. It's 2 a.m. It's way past his bedtime, and I'm like relieved. I'm like, great. I don't need to go to a show. I can finally just get a good night's sleep. And I got a text going, I'm in the lobby. Where the hell are you? I'm getting a cab. Let's go. And so we went and stayed till 4 a.m. So Billy loves New Orleans because he gets there, and like what he told me in the lobby, actually, this is an important point, and he didn't say it for an audience. He only said it for me. And he goes, and when I was like, I don't believe we're going to do this. It's 2 a.m. and we've been, the past week and a half has been nonstop. And he goes, listen, we've been talking about music. I've been making my own music, but if I don't go out and see live music, I'm going to be physically sick. And I was like, fair, and I was like, I'm getting sick right now just from this yo. And he goes, yeah, brother, you need live music, and he was right. We went and we had an amazing time. So New Orleans is a very, very special place for him. Jazz Fest as well. And I think one of the things he loves about it is the spirit of, it's like Bonnaroo, right? It's one of these things where it's not just about what band you're with. It's about, you're definitely, no matter who you are, you're going to see a lot of other music. Even if you don't want to, you're going to see a lot of other music. You're going to discover like the best parts about Jazz Fest. And when I say Jazz Fest, I mean anywhere in the city, not just at the fairgrounds. You're going to discover artists that you never ever heard of before, and those are going to be like your favorite. You know what I mean? Like you want to see the big headliners, but then you're going to see some random person in some club walking by it, and you hear them playing guitar, or you walk past the gospel tent on the fairgrounds, and that's going to be like your big takeaway. So Billy wanted to kind of, be a part of that. It was important to him, and we had an opportunity for this one night where it lined up. All the kids are down there. Tommy's playing with J-Rad the following weekend. Dead and Company's the following weekend. And, Magna's playing with the Disco Biscuits the following weekend. Reed is playing with Electric Beethoven and some other really exciting things throughout the week. And Spaga is Magner's piano jazz trio is playing all Grateful Dead tunes. He's been talking about this he's been threatening this for years, and he's finally doing it on that Sunday. And so Billy was like, we got to do a show, and we talked about it internally with all management and all the players, and the whole, our whole family basically, and it was all systems go. I'm really excited about it. It happened really fast. It's last minute in a way, just because like it's go. But
so what is the set list going to be?
I can't tell you that, but I will say this: it's going to be New Orleans flavored, and that's why we called the event "Fleur de Dead," was to show that like it's Grateful Dead tunes, sure, but there's going to be some.
We're getting an Ico.
There's going to be some. We're getting a what?
An Ico.
Yeah, well, there are some twists and some turns, some curveballs, some cool covers, and some fanfare or whatever. But yeah, and the set list afterwards is going to be one of those where if you look at it, you're going to see songs where you're going to see some connection in New Orleans that you didn't think of before, stuff like that.
It's interesting having it the week before Dead and Co. and it's going to be down there and
nice warm up.
Right? Well, it's good for that to like kind of spend the week, but it's also like I feel like you're gonna have more locals and more of the diehard, not like the happenstance. Like, I was down here to see all this other stuff, and I love shows like that, like the shows where the people are poignantly like making it a point to go early for a specific thing. I think are make for some really awesome special shows.
My secret hope, and I never articulated this, not to Billy or anyone, but my secret hope is that people now come are going for the second weekend, that they now come for the first weekend, and I'm forcing them to have that experience I had in 2015. It's expensive. It's a lot of time off work. Not everyone can do it, but I'm hoping a few people do, and I'm hoping other people, that weren't going to go down to the Dead and Company is doing a big tour. I'm hoping that people that weren't planning on, and also at the fairgrounds, Dead and Company has 3 hours there. They're doing a full, the full show. But a lot of times at fairgrounds, it's not the optimal place to see a band. So I'm hoping that a lot of people that are going to see Dead and Company in their home markets are like, you know what, this is a special show. I'm going to fly down for this and then stay for the weekend where you have this incredible Jazz Fest programming,
What about the other special show coming up? Can you talk any bit about that?
With Cornell?
Which one? About Gamehendge?
About Cornell.
Oh, well, we should talk about Gamehendge. That's what I want to talk about.
Cornell. Well, Gamehendge. Cornell is cool. I mean, it was what I thought was neat was how everyone immediately, when the teaser went up, everyone immediately kind of knew, and it went around really fast. It's cool. My own take on things is when you go back to the scene of a crime, like it's hard to meet expectations, and also. There is, I think it's going to be a special night for everyone there, but for everyone that's getting FOMO, I think like listen to the Cornell 77 tape because nothing's going to touch that. And I don't think anything's trying to, so it's not a competition, But if people are looking for that, if people are looking for, hey, then that's painting over the Mona Lisa. Right?
It almost is surprising to me that I say you guys, I mean like
Call it art.
but that they're even attempting that or that they're hitting that, because that's
I like that. Yeah,
with like to pull reference to arguably one of the greatest, dead shows, and like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of bands wouldn't even touch it. Like they'd be like, we're just gonna
a lot of
leave
bands
that.
wouldn't touch it, and I feel like this show, not to speak out of turn, but I feel like this show was kind of came together because of other important things. It's a benefit, and it kind of just plays into, it's interesting though, because I do agree that I like I said, I think for everyone there it's going to be a very special night, but I don't think the takeaway is going to be necessarily, it's not going to be a show that everyone's talking about in 20 years from now. That was 77. And
right, they're not going to be like, oh, you remember Cornell? And wait, which
is
one?
Is anybody
talking about 77?
But that's with anything, you know what I mean? Right. Like that's with anything. In arguably even movie franchises, when you go back and do it, it's like Johnny Depp doing Willy Wonka.
Don't even go there.
I love Johnny Depp. I love Tim Burton, but it's like, I love this whole. I love everything about it except that I saw the original and I love the original.
Yeah. I think Johnny Depp holds truer to the printed text of the book than Gene Wilder does.
Yeah.
When it's transferred to a movie, but that's me, and everyone fucking comes at me for it. And
but you liked the
you don't know that joke? That's one of the ultimate jokes on me. Is Kevin's bad takes started with that I think Johnny Depp is better than Gene Wilder.
Well, there you go. I love Johnny Depp. I'm a big fan, but I do think that nothing touches the original.
It's true.
All right, let's talk a little Phish. I love talking Billy, and I love talking Dead and Co. and Dead, but I mean,
and don't forget, come on, do the pitch.
All right, let's actually we should do that all throughout the summer and spring tours. 15 minutes after Encore for both Dead and Co. and Phish, we are going to be doing live recaps. So 15 minutes.
The Dead and Co.
Encore.
Recap show. Does that sound good? The Dead and Co. Recap.
It doesn't matter, man. It's a live recap. 15 minutes after Encore. Nobody gives a shit what we call it.
I like names
for branding purposes. Kev likes
the After Dead and Co. after show. We looked at it too. So the nights that they're playing the same night, they're on opposite coasts. So we can do double duty. We're gonna pull it off.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be dope. I can't wait. I didn't realize tour is like 2 weeks away. Not even less than 2 weeks. It's like a little over a week away.
You just gave me anxiety. Yeah, it
like
totally
next weekend.
Is. Yeah.
Can't wait.
Are you going out there, Benji?
I am. I was originally going to do all 8. I'm dropping Seattle. I dropped it already. And just because I'm on the East Coast now, I'm this weekend. I'm still down. I don't get back until a few days before, and then it made sense to me. Like the Greek is an hour from my place, and so it made sense that I start there, and then of course, obviously, do the Hollywood Bowl. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be. It's really interesting because Phish has a great history of April shows, but if you look at it. Their spring tours were not always that way. Like,
are you getting new songs? You think you're going to get some new songs?
I do think we're going to
January. Maybe?
I think we're going to get new songs. I don't know if we get one out. Here's my speculation. I think that the Trey Page probably teaches 1 or 2 of those January songs to the whole band, and then they never do it.
I Stroll. No, they're going to do I Stroll out of Tweezer one night.
I think they're going to learn. They learn 2 of those songs. They do 1 for soundcheck, and then they end up doing it this summer. I think, and this is pure speculation, but it's also my hope. My dream, my aspiration. I'd like for there to be some new Trey Tom stuff. I know that there is new material, that they've written new material. That's no secret. They've been writing. They did it also. I think that this is not the only. They did a recent one, which again is everyone knows that. But they also did one before that everyone knew about, but then forgot. Like before, now I forget when it was, but they last summer on summer tour, I was like. every show I was on my pick 5 with my friends on our text chain. Every night I was like, new song. Well, they're gonna do it at some point. I even had that on for the last night of the tour. I was like, they're gonna do it, but they didn't for whatever reason. And so I do think that we get a lot of. I think I don't know if I can say a lot. We get some new tunes this tour.
I think we're going to definitely get some new material. I don't know how much will be in the spring, but I think we're overdue. Maybe not overdue. That's not the right way to say it, but I think a new album, new proper Phish album looms.
Haven't they done enough new material lately, though?
All right, Kev, enough with the terrible fucking takes.
Well, the new material that they did, I mean, the Sci-Fi Soldier, Cast by Vox, but like, it would be nice to have a new song cycle of Phish.
They almost have a whole new catalog from 2015 on. They could be a whole nother band that only did the songs.
Well, that's why they do 13 nights at MSG, and then even 7 nights with no repeats. But I think that what we're talking about is a lot of Trey wrote a lot of songs, and
not
Mike
good
now,
proper Phish songs. They were all
that's right.
Trey songs.
The Old Mercy stuff that then he wrote during the pandemic and then went into the Phish catalog a little bit. Sure. But I mean, I'm looking for I remember, when they came back from whatever songwriting trip it was, and they had Theme from the Bottom and Free, and Taste and all the whole.
What Lost the Lot, episode 3, season 1.
There you go.
I agree with you, Benji, and I feel
I'm ready for it.
It's definitely due this year. It's interesting with the fall too, because we just saw that the Halloween.
Halloween.
That lineup came out with Tab in Florida, and the way Halloween lines up, I think it's on a Tuesday or something. Anyway,
so much Tab and Goose overlapping at these festivals too.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, so what we're looking at is likely no Phish around Halloween or fall tour. I think there's still an opportunity there because it would end up being a pretty light year, in my opinion, if they don't do a fall tour. I think we're still looking at an opportunity for maybe late November going into the 40th anniversary in early December.
It's the anti-celebration this year.
Well,
but what is going on with that? Because it feels like this should have been the bigger year, and it's so far out of 21, 22. It feels like a step back a little bit with at least what they had planned.
And yet, if you look at Trey's dates and you look at Mike's dates, they're doing, Trey wants to play because it seems like every few weeks they announce more Tab shows or something, which is often the case. Trey likes to play.
Well, and Mike's playing a lot too, but they're not playing together. And I was thinking about that too, because with Trey announcing, and I'm just going to stir the shit a little bit. Let's have fun with this. Yeah, I know. So with Trey announcing that he's now playing with Phish, and he just did a thing with Paige, and Mike's going on tour and doing a solo thing, but they're not Mike and Trey. Is there something going on there? Because I feel like, what the hell? I don't know.
I think that I do think that, and again, this is speculation, but I do. I wouldn't be surprised to see a good fall tour. I had the same thought you did, Tim, and that as soon as I saw the AdMat come out and I looked at the lineup for Halloween, my very first thought was, okay, no Halloween, no Phish Halloween. But they've done fall tours before, even recently.
Thanksgiving. In 2003, the Thanksgiving run.
Yeah. They can do Thanksgiving runs. They can do December runs, which they've done back in 99. They did a fall tour, took a break, and then did a December tour.
Right? Yeah, they went through 12, 17.
And the way the calendar falls this year, Halloween's on a Tuesday, so it's kind of an odd run. Anyway,
how about they do this? How about nothing? They do summer tour and then they record a new album for the whole rest of the year, and maybe show up for New Year's.
No, do you know how long they need to take to record a new album these days? It's like a week. They can do that. These are guys with a work ethic where just because they're not touring, the Trey's working every single day.
I
think the 40th anniversary, early December, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, if you could pick anybody,
goddamn Ken.
If you could pick anybody to produce a Phish album, who would you pick?
Let me think this through because this is a big question, Kevin. So David Friedman, maybe, who did the Flaming Lips Yoshimi, is my favorite work from him. And if you want to know his hand. Well, no, I take that back. Here's my out loud thinking. What he did to the Flaming Lips when you hear Yoshimi and you hear the Soft Bolton, you're hearing him, right? Because if you listen to them before and after, they're more of a punk and harder edge band with a little bit more rough around the edges. Phish is always best when they're left when they're left alone, and because Phish knows who they are, and they get in the studio and they have producers come in and go, I'm gonna make a band out of you, and then they're like, oh yeah, you're gonna make me sound good, yeah, and and they use auto-tune, they compress these things, and you get an album like Joy, and some of Phish's albums are amazing.
That Bob Ezrin did,
but
Joy.
Yeah, and Bob Ezrin to me never I know that they have a special relationship with him. He never got Phish. He was the reason Mercury.
I will say that when the song Petrichor in the studio, he got Phish. It was their genesis moment.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I am
and Petrichor is an anomaly. Though. It's an anomaly, but he doesn't appreciate the Phish. He wanted to make them a studio band, and they're not a studio band. Vance Powell came along with Sigma Oasis, and he captured Phish as Phish. And that's why that album is so great. I like Round Room too, because Round Room sounds. The reason I love it's because it sounds like Phish is playing in a room, and you can imagine being there. It sounds like a rehearsal, right? And I think with Sigma Oasis, it was great because from what I remember of it, it was like them going into the barn and literally playing live, and Vance Powell capturing that. And then Vance Powell is also the difference that you heard in Mexico. It was that they brought him in to do the live streams, because you can't.
Thank goodness.
And he made such a difference. So my answer is Vance Powell. Bryce Goggin I love as well for the same reasons. Bryce Goggin or Vance Powell.
I would go with Mutt Land if you could coax him back. And they could have an AC/DC Back in Black moment, and then it would suck because in 3 years we'd be worrying about getting tickets to RFK instead of the Man.
Hey, Kev, I didn't want to cut off Benji, but I owe you a couple of these, so let's just take a break. We're just racking them up. All right, one more.
Banking them.
Oh, man. I agree with you, Benji. Vance Powell made such a notable difference. I think Sigma Oasis was probably the best studio album they've released, certainly in 3.0 and 4, but really since I don't know, Billy Breathes. I think it's really high up there.
There's a part of me that thinks it's their best album. I think that Junta and Rift and
you might be right.
And those classics, but then when I think about on modern era, for sure, 3.0, there's no question it's my favorite. But in a way, a part of me likes it that because I love those. Junta was how I discovered Phish, right? And I have fond memories of Rift and of Picture of Nectar, of Hoist. I remember getting Hoist and going and making a tradition that I was always going to get high before I listened to a new Phish album. And I was like, this is a new rule. And which I'm pretty sure I've kept.
Billy,
but, even if you didn't make that a rule, wouldn't that probably happen anyway?
Yeah, that's right. But I'm a young college kid at that point, and I was like a freshman in college. So it was we went back to the dorm room and sat down, and I remember my friend listening to Julius going, they sold out, listening down with the views going, what is this? This isn't my band.
I think Billy Breeze was their best moment in the studio. I think it's Beatlesque. It's huge in its scope. They embraced the being intricate with the jam kind of thing. I think
the way they went about it too with the blob, they had that blob of music where they were able to go in and add or delete each of them, and it was a collaborative process. Yeah, I like Billy Breeze a lot. I also like Ghost and Farmhouse, but I think Sigma Oasis sounds like it's the first album that sounds like Phish, sounds like Phish live.
Right, that the live and the studio are not that far apart.
Not that far apart, and that's the Phish. That's where Phish. We all know that's where Phish shines. Right, they're live band.
Do we get a new Phish album?
Kev, you're about to be put in out.
No,
I'm about to put you in the penalty box, man. You keep cutting Benji off.
No, we that's the Paul McCartneyism. We do. If you look at Paul McCartney in interviews, in every interview he does that at one point.
Yeah. You know what's one last thing on Sigma Oasis too. I was just thinking as you're saying that it was perfect timing for an album to capture the live studio sound or the live Phish sound too, because when it came out was when we needed that kind of the most because we were all deprived of live music, right? It was at the beginning of the pandemic, and like I think having that, I mean, having that experience on like April 1st, what was that, 2020, where we all like did it as a community and got together was very special. But then
Yeah.
to then not have some like hokey, bullshit studio album, have like something that really captured the sound that we were all missing. I think it was like the perfect album for the perfect time. Not it wasn't a perfect time, but like it was the timing of it was perfect for that album. So
it was, and in fact, it was kind of like getting because we were in this brand new situation that was traumatic for everyone and that was unprecedented, and everyone's trying to navigate it. And here we have this pause to hear this new album, and there's that hesitation in my mind going, don't get your hopes too high for this, but on the other hand, it doesn't matter because this is a moment and we're going to have this moment no matter what. And then the album came, dropped, and as it was playing, it felt to me, I remember dancing in the living room, literally dancing with my girlfriend at the time. And I remember feeling like this is like we're getting a show, like this is like they're playing to us, and it felt like that. It had that energy. And I think that's why my answer to your earlier question is Vance Powell.
Yeah, I remember thinking that thread was the best thread they'd done because I knew that song had potential, but I felt like they never really hit it. And then in the studio version, I think that was the first time they really nailed it.
I agree. And the thing is too, is that for a song like Everything's Right, I would think if you were to ask me, if you were to say, I'm going to play you the studio version of the song, we just did it, here's the studio version. My expectation of it is that they're trying to do a prototype, right? Where they don't do any jam and they just do the song form.
It's 6 minutes less than it is.
Yeah. And instead they did a version that they were improvising in that version, and Trey was even ad-libbing, the vocal lines with that now have become a part of the song.
Yeah.
Which is so beautiful. So beautiful.
All right, so you want to tell us about
Island Tour.
All right, Kev, we're gonna get to Island Tour. Not yet, though. Motherfucker, dude.
He's the kid in the back seat tonight. He's really on fire.
For like an hour before the show, he messaged me like 15 times. Like, we got to talk Island Tour. You better talk Island Tour. We're going to talk Island Tour. I was like, yeah, Kev, we'll talk Island Tour. And then the countdown's on, and he's in the thread. He's like, favorite Island Tour. Let's talk Island Tour. I'm like, Kev, just relax. We're going to talk Island Tour. But before we talk Island Tour, I want to know about this Gamehendge thing. Because honestly, that was the first catalyst that was like, hey, I want to catch up with Benjy because this is a cool idea, I think. And I kind of want to, share with people what you guys have planned for in this. That's in like 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
Well, no, and that was real time. Like we saw that announcement and we're like, we need to get Benjy on the show.
It was instantaneous. It was like it infused the thought into our heads.
Completely.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be really, really cool. So Reed Mathis has been, he on bass, if you've ever heard him play bass or seen him live play bass, he approaches that instrument unlike any other. And having been in a van with him going across the country, I can tell you that, and playing music for each other, and we're very, very close friends, and we don't always share the same musical taste. I think he has a higher brow, and no, that's not true because he also loves like Hendrix and Led Zeppelin, but he comes from a family of composers, and a family of maestros. And just such a musical genius. So he doesn't like most guitar players, and I'll play him a Phish tune or I'll play him some other song, and he'll call out the solo as it's happening. He'll say, he's gonna do this now, he's gonna do that. He doesn't like a lot of guitar players because they're so cliche. Loves Jerry, loves Jimi Hendrix, loves Trey, but like most guitar players, that solo on Pentatonic, he knows what they're doing, and it's a bag of tricks, and he thinks he can do better, but he's a bass player. And so he had this octave pedal, and he could play bass like a guitar, like a lead instrument. But during the pandemic, his pivot was since he had to play music by himself, he picked up a guitar, and he had played it a little bit before. I saw him actually play with Steve Kimmott on a whim. He's was called up on stage and played one song, and he could solo. And I was like, yeah, it made sense because they're bass and guitar. It's just difference in you know, in octave and also approach, obviously. But like, you know, you can grok it how you can do one to the other. But it wasn't his specialty. During the pandemic, he started playing guitar almost exclusively. And as his manager, I wasn't in favor of it because I was like, listen, like when you play bass for 10 seconds and I'm blindfolded, I know who it is on bass. And that's such a rare thing. And with guitar players, as he always says, there's a million of them. So I was like, why be one in a million, you know, one out of a million when you can be one in a million.
Right.
And you know, so that was my thinking. And then I kept on getting better and better and better. And we did this private party that was
what an asshole.
I know, but we did this private party that was a friend of mine's birthday party, and the band was Reed on guitar, Brian Rashap from Phil and Friends, and Mother Hips on bass, and Magner from Disco Biscuits, and of course Billy and the Kids on keyboards, and Jay Lane was on drums. And they did the Beatles. They did you know, they did why can't I think of the Beatles album now? With Mean Mr. Mustard, the
Abbey Road.
Thank you. I was drawing such a blank. They did Abbey Road in its entirety, but severely jammed out, you know. And that was the first time I looked at Reed as a guitar player, and I was like, holy shit. Like he knew all along where he was headed, but it took him a year or two, you know. But then he got there, and then we've had number of late night talks about tone, you know, because that's what I take away from following, you know, Phish and Trey so closely, is how much Trey has spent on his tone. And I said to Rita, I was like, you now have, you know, now it's just a question of dialing in the tone so that when you play a few notes, everyone knows it's you. And he said the obvious, which I already knew, which was, well, that happened. If Santana picked up a Fender, you know, and a PV amp, and it wasn't his settings, it would still sound like Santana because it's in the fingertips, you know. But Reed is really, so he's been blowing me away, and he's been playing dead nights in Berkeley and in the Bay Area, and people that don't know him from Billy and the Kids, that don't know him from Electric Beethoven, every night are going up to him going, who are you? Oh my God. It's like he's like having this new renaissance period. And so what better way to do that than you know, to show that and showcase it than by playing all of Gamehendge, which is, you know, he loves the album or the opera or whatever you call it, the song suite. It hits all those points for him because of the compositions, and now he gets to really, really jam them out. And he did it as a live stream during the pandemic, and I thought then, and I think now, that was almost a mistake because he wasn't quite there yet. He could play it. He's still, oh my God, like he can still play. Back then, he could still play guitar better than I will ever play it. But now it's like, now when you watch it, you're like, this is something special. You know, like he's something special on this instrument. And
so then what are you and Andy doing with this?
So what Andy and I are doing, so, you know, as you know, the original The Man Who Stepped In Yesterday has that narration. Right. And Andy's going to do the narration in which, you know, he's reading the story. So he's going to be the narrator. However, my favorite times in Phish do those things, like Forbin's and the Mockingbird, is when they do the, you know, oh my God, we're no longer inside a bar. We're on a raft. We're on a raft in the middle of the ocean. You know, when Trey goes really, really out there, which I think he stopped doing when he stopped farting so much. But you know, it was,
headphones helped with that.
But not only that, but as an audience member, I think Tom Marshall even told me that, like, Trey knows or knew and wanted when he did that people listening are gonna be, you know, on a headful. By the way, the moral of the story is, well, when you hear Reed do it, you'll say that no, in 200 years you couldn't be that good. But anyway, so my role is to basically be the if you're on research chemicals or whatever in the audience and you listen to me talk, you may think that you're not in the bar but on a raft or something like that, as the famous Mockingbird comes flying out of the sky to steal the Helping Friendly book and bring it to the wonderful people of Gamehendge.
I think this is awesome, and it's perfect for you because you won a Wookiee Award. I mean, you also are New York Times bestselling author, so I guess, you know, you can like weigh what's more validating. But you won a Wookiee Award for storytelling, so I think that that was a precursor for this, and that this is a perfect role for you, and I think doing it with the whole Gamehendge setting and like in a live setting like that is really awesome.
It's gonna be fun. And Steve Adams from ALO is on bass. And with Reed choosing the bass player, he's gonna obviously choose somebody that is of that level. And that's Steve. And we have Scott Rager from Tea Leaf Green on drums. He's also a member of Bone Diggers, which is Reed's Paul Simon tribute band. And so the J-Rad of Paul Simon, if you will.
All right, so now I have to ask you, because I think I might lose Kev to slumber if I don't get into this now. What is your favorite? What was your do you have a favorite night from Island Tour?
I listened to them all this week, not because of the anniversary, but because on the new season, or on the second part of the last season of Undermine, which is beginning to air next week, we are going to do all 4 Island Tour shows. And I have friends that for a long time the letters or the numbers 422 meant something, because my friends would just swear that 422 was the set of Phish. And there's a theory that Phish came back from the Phish from the 2020s came back to the 1990s to play those 4 shows, which we now know is definitely not true. there was no time turns elastic in those shows. But I mean, it's my favorite night always was the second night, because I love that Roses Are Free. I love that Antelope. It's my type of show. It's not necessarily a continuation of the 97 stuff, which happened on the first night and on the fourth night, of course. And moments throughout all 4. But I think that second night to me is just has the type of type 2 Phish jamming that I really just love. And all just that Roses Are Free. The twist though from the first night is also, there's just a lot that this is why the Island Tour, this is why we're still talking about it. It was 4 nights of Phish that they announced it like what, a week before, 2 weeks before?
2 weeks.
Very shotgun, yeah.
2 weeks before. And
who do you know who can get you tickets in town?
Well, I got tickets. I miraculous. I don't remember how I got them, but I mean, my friends and I all scored tickets. We very quickly, threw together a plan and did all 4. And to me, what made those 4 nights is that it was the second time in a row, the first being the New Year's run, right before there on 97, that Phish played 4 shows in a row, where all 4 shows there wasn't one set that they dropped,
right.
So, and at the time, I mean, granted, this is a time in Phish's history where every show would seem better than the last, but those 4 consecutive shows, it was undeniable that it felt like the greatest 4 nights of Phish.
Yeah, and it kind of held up for a long time. I mean, still kind of does in that way. It's weird. You still get really good nights, but
when did it hold up for a long time till?
I mean, I still think it holds up. God damn, Kev, we're talking about the Island Tour for you. Why are you gonna be a dick? No, I think because I was too young or not fully exposed at that point.
13 nights at MSG maybe it holds. 13 consecutive nights at MSG might hold up.
Well, okay, so Baker's is an interesting thought, because I was just thinking about how modern era Phish, you still get really good shows, and I would argue that when you take out like the nostalgia and everything, like there are isolated moments that are just as good as the 1.0 moments. I think the difference 100%. is the pure consistency of like having 4 fire nights in a row. Now it's like will have like one night of a 4-night run be fire, and then one night be kind of like,
and then it's time turns away.
That's absolutely true. And also, I maintain that Phish at their best right now is as good, if not better, than they've ever been. The problem is that I have a problem saying the word problem. The thing is that even though when Phish is at their best now, and they've played stuff in 4.0 and in 3.0 that have been side by side with the best stuff they've ever played. You know? But the thing is
the worst stuff they've ever played.
Well, the thing is that back then every night, every moment counted, and I think, to me, a part of that was the amount of effort and time and thought that they were putting into their set lists in advance. Whereas now, they go out and every song. But when they had a carefully scripted set list, it wasn't just one night. They had a carefully scripted. That's why Baker's Dozen was so good, because they didn't script out the sets, but they had this arc and they knew what to do with it. And I feel like for the Island tour, that those set lists were very much written out in advance. They may have changed a few on the fly, but they went on stage with a plan, and I think that was a big part of it. And the other thing too that we need to remember is that one of the reasons it seemed like it was a great 4 nights of Phish, whereas now when we have 4 consecutive nights of Phish, like it doesn't seem as historic. It's because back then 4 nights of no repeats was a huge deal. You didn't really go more than 2 shows without a repeat.
Yeah.
And so 4 shows without a repeat, that was a treat.
And now it's kind of like we have the entire history of the band leading to expectations, and expectations fuck everything up.
Yeah.
It always felt to me like those 4 nights were the graduation ceremony, and then they became the band they became in the summer of 98 and went on to 99 and fell apart and came back together and fell apart and continued to do what
laugh
they
and
did.
fall apart.
I
thought you had a great point, and then you just started counting, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Well, I truly believe that their greatest moment for me was the maze through the cavern, the final night. That was the graduation ceremony. They walked across the stage. They said, "This is what we are," and they were evil Phish then. It isn't the Phish you get today. It was maze. It was, I'm paranoid. I'm fucking on drugs. I'm dead animal on the road. There's some weird witch trying to kill me, It's
Phish in their 30s versus Phish in their, in their 50s and 60s, as they soon they will be.
I don't feel like everything's right will never be as effective as maze will. We've all
but everything's right. Everything's right is a song that you write when you're I'm not calling it dad rock, but it's a song that you write when you do have family, and also when you're at that age. Show of Life versus Fluffhead. Of course, Dude of Life is going to write Fluffhead when he's young. It's a young person song, and it holds up, but it's a young person song. And then he gets older and he has a family, and suddenly it's Show of Life when he and Trey get back together, and they're there's a point in your life when it's all tomorrows, and when it's all tomorrows, because of that, it's all a joke, or at least the people for me, right? Like my type of person. It's all fun and games, and you don't need to take anything too seriously. You're in your 20s. Everything, you're everything is better with humor, and lighthearted. And then as you get older, you've had not only hardships, Trey's been to jail, you into rehab. You have all these things happen in your life, and suddenly, when you're 20, you don't need to say anything. You can say boy, man, God, shit, and what you say is you say it with your guitar. But then you get older and your kids are coming to the shows, and they're bringing their friends, and you want to say approach the night with caution, which is so much better to say it on stage with 20,000 people than tell your daughter, hey, check in with me later on, and wear a condom. You want to tell her to wear a condom.
Yeah, but I tell you what, the most effective path to not being a grandparent is saying to your kid, use a fucking condom.
Yeah.
I'm glad though, Benjy, that
use a fucking condom.
I'm kind of glad though that they continue to evolve like that, and that the music didn't try to just replicate the young Phish, because I don't think you could have kept capturing that type of lightning in a bottle anyway. And I'll be honest, I like the cheese. I like the Show of Life. When if people are around me and I'm not on like camera or mic, and I'm not like being put on the record, and like I'm just like in the moment getting goosebumps on my arm, I like getting that, epic with the lights and cheesy Show of Life type of moment, like, because I'm an older guy now, right? Like I am a dad, and I like.
You are not an older guy.
No, but
older than I was when I started seeing Phish.
No, but I love Show of Life. I love all those tunes. I really do. Most of them, but I really do. And I Drift While You're Sleeping. Life Beyond a Dream. I love. But
Life Beyond a Dream is fine. Drift While You're Sleeping can.
But it's all the thing about Phish songs when they're not Phish jams. Well, Tweezer's a Phish jam, so they can play that anywhere in the set, and it's always going to go over great. The thing about the songs that
Like
are
a lead
Phish
balloon.
songs but not jams is that it's all about placement. Farmhouse is a great song when it's placed in the right place. But when it's placed in the wrong place, it's just taking up real estate. And so you're disappointed because instead of a tweezer,
that's harsh.
a farmhouse.
No, it's accurate.
It's harsh.
It is
but when you
accurate.
play farmhouse in the right position,
Yeah,
I
I
take
this is a great
Farmhouse
song.
every day of the week over a
Yeah.
Drift while you're sleeping.
Well, so
Oh,
Drift
yeah.
while you're sleeping, if they played Drift in the middle of a second set, I wouldn't be so
Like
pleased.
they always
because
do.
no, at the end of a
It's
show.
at the end now,
you know,
though, mostly. Yeah.
The end's the position, and sometimes it takes them a minute to figure out position. But position for a song like that is everything.
I think that the songs have gotten better. Sorry, I'm not really responding to what your point. I agree with you, Benji, but I noticed MK in the chat was saying that the new songs are terrible. And I don't want to dismiss it like, oh, you're a troll, like the new songs are great, because I'm not just gonna be like, fully standing. Like they've not all been great. I think it's fair to say that. But in my opinion, I think the newer music, first of all, I think there has been great songs throughout. There's been terrible songs sprinkled in, but I think that we've been on an upward trajectory in the last couple of years.
Hey, party gal.
There were also terrible songs, back then, but that didn't exist and didn't.
They don't survive because they were terrible.
Yeah, but so a lot of the songs that we hear now aren't going to be around even in another 5 years.
But they've written
they've
written incredible studio songs. We mentioned Petrichor earlier as a Genesis.
You mentioned
Petrichor thing, and then let's go with Sing Monica. I mean, the studio version of that, the lyric,
I'm so tempted to put
is
you in
a huge
penalty.
song. It really is good.
Yeah, I'm not with you on that. But there's a lot of really, really great songs that came out, and every era, and of course, Spices from 2.0, which has an enormous potential, but they just never gelled. And then you look at the Dear Mrs. Reagans and the Prep School Hippies, and they were kids when they wrote those songs.
Dumb. They weren't even punk songs.
And yet, if they did them now, we would all be excited because it's just like I always have this
novelty of it though.
When they do Tongue or they do Catapult, right? There was a time in my Phish career in 1.0 where I was super stoked to hear those songs or see them on a set list even, right? And I still kind of am because it means that it's a certain type of show and also it's great. But then you take it out and you isolate it. And it's like if somebody was to ask me why I love this band as much as I do and why I've seen them as much, and I played them Catapult, they'd be like, or played them Tongue, they'd be like, I don't get it, or Big Black Furry Creatures from Mars,
I agree. I think the ratio has tilted though. There's more bad, not as popular songs now than there had been. I think you're right. There's always been shitty songs and they don't survive, and there's a weird nostalgia. But like the ratio is definitely tilted.
Spread it around. Go do yourself a favor and go and listen and spread it round.
So what is your issue?
The reason I say that is because you'll be so happy that they didn't keep playing it. Spread It Round is one of those few songs where I'm just like I'm so relieved that they forgot about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I remember when I did the first Phish bracket, I had 360 something songs on it. So we got into like My Left Toe and Spread It Round and Summer of '89 and all these songs, like that, like people forget about. And
My Left Toe, I forgot about.
I listened to all of them to seed it, and once you got past like 200, it was pretty much all terrible, right? Like there's a lot of bad songs.
But yeah, your Maestro song, but these are songs that still are fun. Like they're again. That's why Big Black Furry Creatures from Mars works. It's a horrible song, but it's so much fun as long as they don't play it. If they played it at every third show, people would throw shit at them. But you do it once in a while, and it's fucking why do I try to kill you? Because you fucked my wife. Oh no, I'm sorry.
Thanks, Benji. You just got us censored on YouTube. We're gonna lose all the revenue we got.
Alternate lyrics. Am I not allowed to swear?
Oh, I do it every show. Every fucking show. I'm like, oh, why did we get tagged for a review? And then I remember, oh shit, I fucking cursed the whole time. All right. I want to make a couple apologies because Andy's making me feel bad about being mean to Kev. So Kev, I'm sorry for being mean to you. I felt a little frustrated that you kept cutting off our awesome guests, and I just wanted to listen to Benjy, but I apologize. And also, MK, I wasn't trying to say you were trolling. I was saying that I wanted to acknowledge, you have some valid points there, but I just wanted to also point out that there's also been some really great songs that have come out recently, right? And I think that kind of perspective is important. We can't paint. Well, you can do whatever the fuck you want. I don't give a shit. For me, I'm not painting it with the broad brush. It's like there's been some really great music. There's been some really shitty music. But the fact that we consistently get new music 40 years into the band's career and it doesn't seem to be slowing down at all is amazing.
I think everyone is going to be surprised by this next batch of songs. I mean, that I say that because that's my hope, but I see them. They're in such a good place. And when they've done like the Kasvat Vats and Sci-Fi Soldier stuff, and that almost seemed like they had such a deadline for it, and it was, pump it out. But you have them develop these songs, and Trey and Tom going off to do these songwriting, retreats. I have a lot of hope for that. And then I also have I think that songs like Forward People have a lot of potential. They need to develop, but you have to remember, that when every song comes out, people hated Mercury at first. People hated Split Open and Melt. I still don't
like Mercury.
People hated Split Open and Melt. People thought Down with Disease was them selling out, and so, I think that I think that they're going to write some incredible new songs that aren't like the songs on Mercy, for instance, which I also like, but are in a whole different category. I think Mercy was Trey trying to make. And let's talk about the inverse for a second. The only time I'm not a Trey fluffer is when Trey plays acoustic. And I love the banter. I like the stories, but a lot of these songs were not meant to be campfire songs. They're meant for a 4-piece that sounds like a 12-piece, And like Trey's writing, like in Split Open and Melt, he's writing horn lines that he's playing on guitar, and the way the band does it, and in feuds and stuff like Eula Papyrus and stuff like they're not meant to be campfire songs. I think
it's lost its novelty. When he first did the acoustic tour, it was neat because the storytelling and just the intimacy of it. But I'm kind of surprised he kept it going so long.
So an album like Mercy to me is him writing songs for that, because Trey writes songs with something in mind always. Sometimes he writes it with set list position in mind. Character 0, we need a new strong closer. First 2, but let's have a great opener. Or Encore, whatever. And so I think that with Mercy, to me, what that was him trying to write songs so that when he does play acoustic, these are songs that the lyrics are straightforward, they're not silly. The songwriting, a song like Lonely Trip is amazing to hear one person play that on an acoustic guitar. That's an amazing time to hear that.
Yeah, not at a Phish concert. I would rather that stay with solo Trey. Right? Kev, smile, man. I don't want you to be upset. You're breaking my heart. Why are you upset?
He's good.
Good.
Kev.
All right. Well, anyway, I think we're gonna call it there. This was Benjy, we got to do this again. This is so much fun.
Always. Yeah,
especially after the show, to hear how it goes. I want to hear how.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can't make it up there, I'm still trying to get up there. But if I don't make it up to Berkeley, I can't wait to hear how it goes. It's gonna be sweet.
Oh, I'm nervous. I'm definitely gonna fuck up.
That's a great thing about that kind of storytelling is like you can just go with it.
And he gets to stick to the script, and I'm the one that's gonna jump off the cliff and try to develop the wings on the way down. I promised myself that I wouldn't even know what I'm not gonna prepare. That's the whole thing. Like, they're rehearsing. I'm gonna get there from a Phish show, a head full of whatever, and I'm going to start to be like, we're not.
Are you recording it? Is it streaming? Can us East Coasters get any bit of this?
We're not streaming it, because if you think about what time it would be, it would be at 3 a.m. on the East Coast. But we are going to record it, and TBD. What
I was going to say, that's about when we'll be doing our recap show. The West Coast tours kill me. Well, I'm going to have to become nocturnal for the 15 minutes after Encore. But okay, you are recording it, so I'll be able to hear it at some point.
Yeah,
I don't care if everybody else can. Just private viewing. I just want to.
I'm sure we'll do something with it. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Like this video, subscribe. Leave us a comment if you're watching this not live, and let us know what you think about Kev's awesome takes tonight.
Exactly. Right. Benjy, right on, man. I'll see you either in Berkeley or definitely at the Bowl.
It sounds good to you. Hit me up for
definitely
sure.
Will. Right on.
Cool.